This is the Red Elvis Show with me, Josh Everton, Andy Simcox, Alan Smith, and Tracy Martin. We're back at full strength now. Tracy's back from a lovely holiday in Italy, and Alan has come with the biggest Barnsley badge I've ever seen in my life. That's the wrong side. If you point to the other side, you might get there, Al. I can't miss
Other
it.
side,
I don't know how you've managed to not point
That's
at
it.
given how big it is. We will be reacting to last night's scary 2-1 win against Carlisle. We'll be talking about Donovan Pines' arrival, along with Conor McCarthy leaving to Swindon Town on loan for the rest of the season, and then preview Saturday's game as we're away at Stevenage in another playoff 6-pointer. Let's get into it. So, Tracy, last night, one of those games which I think pre-game we had 2-1 as a prediction, 3-1 as a prediction, 4-1 as a prediction. And Andy, did it stay in the way of everyone predicted a win?
No, there are a couple of one person predicted a draw and our very own Claire Wilson predicted a defeat. But what I will tell you is that 3 people for the second week running, or second game running, predicted 2-1. Myself, Reese Pearce, and Wayne Hamilton. So we are top of the table, the 3 of us.
You know you can't win, old Andy.
A lot of 2-1s. I stand by the fact if you break 2-1 every week, you will win. Tracy, going on to last night's game though, granted that before the game we expected to win this one, it was not as straightforward as if you look at the scoreline. It wasn't that simple, was it?
No, it was probably the worst start, first 10 minutes to a game that I've ever seen. I did watch the game on Saturday from the Italian Alps, and I was thinking we looked quite, relatively assured at the back. So when it was the same back 3, I was pretty optimistic like everyone else. And then to say we started badly is probably the biggest understatement ever. And it was a funny one because not only did we start badly, but players that have consistently been good all season, i.e. Liam Roberts, he started to make mistakes. I mean, he didn't make a fantastic save after, I think it was about 1:13. I looked at the clock when they should have scored and didn't. And then we literally seemed to look like a back 3 that have not played together at all. And, it wasn't only one player, but Jack Shepherd, bless him, had what can only be described as a nightmare. And I, like many, were really impressed by how he performed on Saturday. And we've all been calling, he needs more game time. He got it, and I thought he was assured on Saturday. He looked comfortable. But bless him, last night, and, he's young, and I wouldn't, I don't want to be critical of him, but he had a nightmare. And I thought there was a big debate, certainly where I sit, as to whether Lapata should have come on at half-time just to take him out of the sort of the mess that was happening. But to be fair to him, and I will be fair, he stuck by it and he continued to work hard. And, come the second half, gradually he sort of got back into his flow. But yeah, we were dire. We were absolutely dire. And not only the defence were dire, but we the individual mistakes, the errors, we couldn't keep the ball. We made Carlisle look like a decent side. I mean, they were better than I expected, but we made them look far better. And the centre forward that they've just signed, that Luke Armstrong, he gave us a torrid time in the first half. How he'd not got his hat-trick, I'll never know by 50 minutes in. They made us look very, very poor. And, we were begging for half-time, and thankfully it came and he did make the changes. And I think that fair credit to Collins, because he did make the changes. They were necessary. He could have made a lot. But the calls that he made, I think, were the right. And there's my camera again, and that weird thing. A dramatic effect.
He's skiing. He looks like...
Yeah. And it came good in the second half. I said came good, we were slightly better. But yeah, it was disappointing is probably an understatement.
Yeah, I think there's almost 2 ways to look at it, Al, isn't there? In terms of we played poorly but still ground out a result, which is the positive side to look at it. But there's the other side of, like Tracy said, we could have been 4-0 down inside 15 minutes. But realistically, almost a series of individual mistakes and errors that led us to that. It wasn't necessarily sort of a fundamental issue, just almost lackadaisical and a little bit of not maybe complacency I would say maybe crept in a bit in that first, especially in that first half.
It were horrendous to see and watch and be there in Pontiac to see it happen and fall in front of your eyes. I think in 4 days we've pinched 6 points, to be honest. And I couldn't believe after that 1 minute 15, Robert saved, ball come over at top. It went, and I just can't understand how he missed it. Young centre back, Jack Shepherd, and then 1-on-1, and he saved it. Then they were through again, 1-on-1 with keeper, and he shot it wide. It was easier to score than put it wide. Then they had another chance. As I said, they could have been 4-0 up within 15 minutes. If they're finishing and being clinical, the game would have been over. What really would have been over. And I've never seen a 45 minutes, and I've said all season, we hadn't put 2 45 minutes together all season. And that first half is one of the worst 45 minutes I've ever witnessed following the Barnsley team. And we've seen some crap, Andy, but there were nothing there. And Paul Simpson definitely got his tactics and team selection right. They pushed up, they stopped us playing front back, and we were jittery. And we've never been jittery. And I just don't understand it. Luckily enough, clinical slide rule pass, second half, from skipper Jordan Williams to Devante Cole to get his 16th. Really took it well. It was a good goal. And then I'm thanking Mr. Finney in 85 minutes for giving us a penalty. From my position at Ponty, I thought it were a bit dubious, to be honest. I'd have been aggrieved if that had been against us. But one's what we've had in the past, what's not been given. Burton last season with handball line, you take it, it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? And we come away on a cold Tuesday night, and phew, we pinched 3 points. And if I were a Carlisle fan, I'd be gutted.
Yeah, I think it is. It's almost one of them when you are down in the position which Carlisle are. It's them kind of games that they're just sloughing for you, really. They've played well. They've matched a side that's in the playoffs, and they've come away with nothing. Andy, what's Swan Lake like?
I knew outcome. As predicted. The Prince, he went after his Prince Siegfried, he went after his swan. Beautiful dance with his swan. Then the baddie Rothbart then sort of substitutes his own daughter Odile for a debt, and he falls in love with her. He marries her, and then he realizes his mistake and chucks his sen down. And although it means her debt's free from Rothbart forever, she's still a swan. So it didn't end well. And at the interval, I switched my phone on, thinking that everybody predicted a win. 72 people had predicted a win. One predicted a draw, one predicted a defeat, and it was one of the smallest were 3-0s. A lot of them there were a few tuners. Well, most were 3-0s, 3-1s, 4-0s, and what have you. So when we're doing that although we're positive bunch really, and sort of vote with his heads as hearts sometimes. It's a danger of complacency that something's going to go wrong. It's going to go wrong. So I was glad, as I said, that Claire Wilson predicted defeat, because if nobody had predicted the defeat, we'd have lost. So I switched it on at I'm going to say at half time for Alan. It's called the interval in Theatreland, Al.
Intermission.
No, interval, Al. And switched it on, and we're losing 1-0, and we're still sort of looking at me with I was going to say love in her eyes, but we're closer to anger. Looked at the comments, should have been 4-0 down after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and whatever, and with all this, and I thought, oh my dear God. So obviously switched the phone back on, watched the rest of the thing, and as I say, I predicted the end, and I knew what was going to happen. So I predicted the end of Swan Lake, and I predicted the end of this match as well. Couldn't fit, we had to leg it for the bus. Couldn't wait till I got on the bus to look at it. Couldn't believe the scoreline, and especially with all the comments that 2-1. And I've seen the highlights, the extended highlights. I've seen as much as I could of the full match on iFollow, and I absolutely agree. And having been my man of the match on Saturday, Jack Shepherd had an absolute nightmare. And it's what happens with young players. He makes a big mistake. They nearly score when he lets it go over his head, and then he makes another, and then you keep making mistakes. But as Tracy said, well done to him for coming coming out in the second half and looking a lot more solid, because that could have destroyed him completely. And truthfully, he weren't on his own at back. Liam in the goal, been absolutely superb for us all season, up to him being injured and since he's come back. But he had, gifted him the first goal. I don't know where he thought he were passing it. I don't know if he thought he were lobbing it over him. That, for me, that showed the complacency. But it weren't the only time. The time when he smacked it against, I think, against Jack Shepherd. I think what's going? We got Fred Carno and Charlie Caroli playing at the back between them. They need to sort the sends out, and if they're not, stop it. Just smack it clear for a bit. Just get it clear and give Sen a bit of They hit the post as well, didn't they? So they could easily have been absolutely hammering us. So having seen the comments, I'm quite happy that it was 1-0 at half time. I don't know about stealing 2 wins, Al. We've won 2 games. I know, it's not about stealing 2 wins. We got 6 points because we deserve 6 points. They're next to the bottom because they couldn't take advantage. That's why they're down at bottom.
Of our mistakes, not them. It was our mistakes that let them in. So
it were a dreadful mistake for their goal. It weren't hard to score that, but they missed a number of sitters, and that's what happens when you haven't got players that are going to score goals, and that's going to be their downfall. They can play. There's no doubt they can play, but I think most teams can beat each other in this league. But they need to improve their scoring ratio, because that were poor. Devante, you got to give praise to Jordan Williams. I thought he did all right in defence, and he came out flying with the ball, and he got it, like you say, slide rule past to Devante, pulled it out of defence, slide rule past to Devante, who took it well, clipped it into the far post. And then I thought, having looked at it back, and other people will disagree, and I've got a touch of bias. I don't care whether people disagree with me or not. It's a penalty. Again, Jordan Williams has put it through to the magician, and he's woven some magic and been taken down. He's got ball and got man. You can't go off like that from behind. So, and then, we're at 4 minutes from the end, 86th minute. Herbie Kane, 1-1, 4 minutes to go. Herbie Kane steps up to it. What a penalty. Pick that out at rigging. Go on. Get backache picking that one out, because he didn't half mean that one. Well done. They keep saying, Herbie, I don't know if he should be playing. He's not got his heart in it. Well, he had his heart in that. He put his boat through that. Pick that one out.
I think since his sort of awkward interview with BBC Radio Sheffield, he's scored, assisted in, I think, all but 1 game so far since then. Yeah. So you can't really complain about his contribution, which I think does go hand in hand with Luke O'Connell coming back as well, and sort of having last season's midfield 3. I
also saw, if it's right, Josh, we had 62% possession. Now, it's not just about possession, it's what you do with it. Well, so it's not like we got absolutely, overrun after them for 10 or 15 minutes. So, I don't know, I thought, well done. And well done to Devante, because he's got a good record, Devante, hasn't he? 2 seasons, 15+ goals. 2 seasons on trot now, and we've not even anywhere near finishing this season. Nothing since Ronnie Glavin, King Ronnie, in the late 70s, early 80s.
I thought it showed quality as well, because he'd not really had much he was feeding on scraps all first half, and he'd not really had much. And when that ball came to him, it was a good pass, but he had something to do. He got to control it, and then, like you say, it was a great finish and showed real composure. And we look back to last year, certainly season before. He'd never have put that there. He'd never finished like he has. So his confidence is sky high, rightly so. And yeah, it certainly brought us back into the game, and then I think we just pushed on from there.
At half time, we brought Bazza on, didn't we, to push it forward,
to take long throws. I think that was the main technical thing of Bazza.
It worked.
20 grand.
Well done,
you know what? It goes forward. Is very sort of enigma-ish in that you don't know when he's going to go forward and if he's going to beat one, miss one, take one on, put one out. But credit where it's due, he attacks and he goes forward and he gives them something to think about. And I think it's what we needed last night, because we'd not really offered anything down that side. So at least he attacked.
It's that funny conundrum, Tracy, between being mercurial and clueless. And I'm not sure which it is.
Between, I think.
Mixture all of it.
Yeah. And Peter Collins for making them subs.
Yeah.
Credit to points for making them.
Yeah, we're going to say, I think whilst we sort of didn't have the best first 45 minutes at all, credit to Collins in a way of not making sort of knee-jerk reactions after that first 10, 15 minutes, because you're between a rock and a hard place. I always think back to Portsmouth at the start of this season, when same thing happened again with 2-0 down after 8 minutes and the game had gone. But if you're going to make wholesale change, if he drags Jack Shepherd off after 15 minutes, what's that going to do to him? It's a rock and a hard place. If you leave him on, if he makes another mistake, then it's, oh no. If you drag him off, it's going to be exactly, it's going to ruin his confidence, especially off the back of strong performance as well on Saturday. So I think it's a rough one and a difficult one for Collins to navigate. But I think his tactics in the second half and changes, I think he'd seen what the problem was and went and rectified it nicely. I think brave as well by bringing Luca off, which I thought was massive.
To be honest, Josh,
What?
It was shine out of tackles. It won't Luca, who we know, to be honest. So I think,
yeah, he said post game, didn't he, Collins, that it almost seemed to me like he'd rushed a fitness test, passed it, but it must have been something playing on his mind of not wanting to go a bit too far, a bit too deep. And also another thing, Jordan Williams came out and sort of, I like to see that leadership that he showed yesterday as well, post game, in the press conference, coming out and saying, yeah, first half, not what we expected, not what we wanted to do, as well as sort of shouldering that responsibility, which I think is nice to see.
It is,
Yeah,
Josh.
he said, go on, Al.
It is, Josh. It's not often, excuse me, that you see more or less all 11 have an off game in 45 minutes, and nobody stepped up to mark, did the Tracy?
No, like I said earlier, all your key players like Luca weren't at the races at all. Kane didn't have an impact on game at first half like he has been doing. But like you said about with Collins, fair play, because he could have done the obvious thing of taking Connell off, who clearly weren't at the races, and putting Russell on to pretty much just play the same formation, which clearly we didn't need, and he didn't do that. You know, he still went attacking by pushing Styles back into the middle and dropping Herbie Kane back in there. And yeah, you know, he has criticism, but the changes worked, and I think we can't have any qualms as to what he did. And you know, people were saying, oh, you know, Cosgrove should have come on earlier, but you know, McCarthy and Cole were doing well up there. McCarthy, especially first half, was, I would say, the shining light in terms of what effort and endeavour. So yeah, I think it were. But like you said, Josh, about when I watched Jordan Williams interview, he also said about the changing rooms good together, and they knew they were out, you know, out of sorts in the first half, and they got together, and that's reassuring, because there's been obviously concerns about the team and how they get on, and that was reassuring. I thought that he said that. And same with Collins, he was very honest in his interview afterwards on Radio Sheffield that I've listened to, saying, you know, we just weren't good enough. We knew we weren't good enough, and you know, we've got through it and we've got the win. And I think there's a lot to be said for that, really.
And to say McAtee is going to stop with us while end of the season, it's been that little manager says he's staying with us. To see what he did when we scored penalty, and that response to Pontien by McAtee, to say he's a low knee, he's a red. He's definitely a red.
See about that playing red as well, Al.
Orange.
Oh, close enough, Tracy.
A soft tone of red, we'll call it.
Soft red.
Well, so say we've had defensive woes, especially yesterday. We could be plugging that gap with the signing of Donovan Pines, which we said in the last show we would delve into a little bit more now that it has been confirmed. Tracy, obviously a big towering lad at 6'5", 25-year-old. I know that because he's bang on a year younger than me, born on the same day. So I'm expecting big things from him, given that we share the same birthday. What are we expecting from Donovan Pines? Do you think he could be almost like a Bobby Thomas type of signing from last season? Because I think he sort of fits the same profile as Bobby Thomas in a way, in terms of a big lad, pacey, and he's probably going to play on either left or right hand side of that three.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's a lot of hopes pinned on him, that's for sure. I've never known a centre half have so much sort of hope pinned on him so soon. He's become a bit of a legend. already from what I've read and seen, and he's not even kicked a ball. So expectations are pretty high. So I hope he lives up to it. The good thing is we've seemed to have got straight behind him, which, in the past, a lot of our fan base, we've signed people we don't know, and then it's been like, oh, we've signed someone and he's non-league or he's American or whatever. But I actually think they've really got behind him, which is good. He speaks really well. His interview last night on the pitch at halftime, he tried to mention the Reds, you Reds, come on, you Reds, at least 20 times. So he's certainly trying to get into the lingo. He's obviously a tall, strong-looking, centre half, and that is certainly what we've all been talking about since the start of the season when we lost Mads and then Kitchen. So it's crying out for a leader in that back three. Although I think MDG does a decent job, in fairness, in terms of organisation, but I think it's whether we have that release now, which I call it the Andy Jordan Williams scenario of will it release Jordan Williams to play on the right, which I think 99% of the fan base are expecting to happen. Everything I've seen so far is, well, who's going to be the back three in terms of McCarthy, MDG, Lapata or Pines. No one's mentioned Williams, so there goes my.
Oh, she goes again.
Yeah. So I'm expecting big things. I mean, he's played in the MLS a lot for DC United. I've had a quick look. They've done okay, not amazing, but he's been one of their top performers. He's played regularly. Seems like he gets a few goals. Also picks up a few yellow cards. That's fair enough because that means he's a bit committed for me, and we're all happy that he's going to bully some centre forwards. So big hopes, and I just hope he gets this visa nice and sharp, gets match fit because he obviously hasn't played since October. But my theory is if he's played against Messi last year, I think he did. Well, it's going to be a doddle then, isn't it? A doddle.
That's too good. It's a nice place to go from Inter Miami to Stevenage away. That's exactly the kind of career path you want. Al, Tracy alluded to it already. Obviously, played 87 times in the MLS, and I think he's got bang on 100 career appearances throughout his career. MLS, it's got better in recent years since sort of Beckham, Gerrard, Rooney have gone over there. And when you look at the sort of stature of America now on the international stage, they're not sort of a pushover team now. They're a solid side. I think we drew them 0-0 in the World Cup group stages, and to be fair, I think they were the better side in that game. So the MLS is not what it used to be in a way now. I think it's a much higher standard than what it was before. So, do you think there is some sort of air of comparison between League One and MLS?
There is now, isn't there? Because MLS has progressed, and it's progressed every year, hasn't it? And at 6'5" is a big unit, isn't it? And it's something we need. And reading about him, I think Daryl DK were talking about him to come to Barnsley. So Daryl's had a big say in him signing for us because he enjoyed his time with us. So I'm really looking forward to him sorting his visa and getting international clearance. And as Colin says, and the club have said, I think he's going to be playing in a few under-21s games. Unlucky, I don't know whether he could have played yesterday. The under-21s are called off because the pitch frozen. So I don't know whether he could have played yesterday for us. So let's see. I'm looking forward to a different back three and getting Jordan Williams back to his rightful position.
Yeah, I think that'll be good. And obviously, the one sort of thing that is a little bit of annoyance, as Al just mentioned, is when you sign players from America waiting for clearance and visas, and obviously their season doesn't marry up well with sort of the European season. Is it a case of taking the rough with the smooth in terms of he might be of higher quality should we have got someone from another side in League One or League Two to have Donovan Pines, who might be potentially Championship quality, and he just comes in that little bit later? Well,
let's hope so. We don't know, don't we? We're hoping so, and all the signs, I think anyway, all the signs are pretty positive. But it does take the shine off it a little bit. I mean, I'm not an expert on it, but visas is he's had a couple of international matches for the USA. So he shouldn't be having any problem getting it, but it's getting it. It's how long it's going to take to get it, and him getting up to speed. Like I say, October. Finish the season in October, so it's it's at least a couple of months, and be coming up to 3 months without him playing competitive football. So we've got to be careful not to expect too much too soon, because look at Dejevany. He came. You thought, you what? He were lucky to stay. They're lucky to stay on the get a penalty away and lucky to stay on the field. And now look at him. So don't judge on the first game or the second game. Give him some time. But we need him on the pitch. Not at all, withstanding that we need Jordan Williams at right wing back him to be at his most effective, because he gets a lot of stick, including having got a lot of stick off me, because he's not physically strong enough, physically tall enough in the air to be able to to make a difference there. But that doesn't mean to say he's not a good player, because he showed last night, created both goals in his own way. But he needs to be down that wing to get further forward and get those runs in, because he is quick and he can get the ball in. So it's a double-edged thing. Get Donovan in for his ability at the back. Like you've all said, big strong unit. Don't expect too much at the start, but also to release Jordan as well. So it could be good. It could be good. You've got to put some faith in him. Let's see. But it is a bit of a kicker that it's going to take so long. We could have done with somebody that could play on Saturday, because they're going to go for us. We'll talk about them in a minute, but they will go for us. So we're going to need to be on our mettle. We can't do what we did last night. So hopefully Donovan will give us that belief, and he's quick. The guy's quick and he can come out with the ball. So hopefully it'll be. Not just hopefully, I expect him to be a big signing for us, but as quick as you can, Donny, as quick as you can.
It feels that way. We sort of the sort of fanfare that we've done as a club around his signing of going to pick her up from Manchester Airport, and that behind the scenes video that was released, which was great to get a level of insight and that content from the club. It feels like we've built it up ourselves of this is going to be a big signing, important signing, which American International is not. The last one we had, the American International, turned his season from mid-table championship up to the championship playoff. So we have got high hopes, but with Donovan Pines coming in, I think it has made a definite surplus of centre-halves. And we've seen Conor McCarthy go to Swindon Town on loan for the remainder of the season. Tracy, how do you feel about this one? Because he's come back from that massive injury and played 21s games, featured in Papa John's games, where at times he's stood out and you can tell that he's first team quality and not sort of an under 21s player, but never got that break sort of into the first team. And there's been plenty of opportunities and chances to play him, given the woes we've had at the back, but he's not even made the bench for a fair few games now. So is it a case of a right move for both parties to get him playing first team football and potentially find his feet and kick on for next season potentially?
Yeah, I think absolutely that. I think it's the right thing for us and the right thing for him. Clearly, he's not in the thinking at all. Like you say, he's not even been on the bench really, and the fact we've been talking about signing a centre half tells you everything. In that, sorry Conor, but for whatever reason, may it be that he's not ready, he's not recovered well, his confidence, whatever it may be, something ain't right. And Collins doesn't have the faith in him to even be on the bench. So, we're saying about Jack Shepherd, who's done well, but at the end of the day, he's a lot more inexperienced compared to McCarthy. So clearly he needs something. He's gone to a good club. We've got, good backing, play decent football from what I remember, doing all right. So I just think it's the right thing. Hopefully he'll get there, get good game time. He does well. Like we've had when Kane went off to Oxford and Mowat, and we've seen it happen. Similar players who've gone, stepped down a league, done exceptionally well, come back, and then have been great the following season. From when I saw Conor McCarthy first come and start playing, I was quite impressed by him. And then he got that injury, and unfortunately, like I say, he's just never really seemed to recover from it. So hopefully this is exactly what he needs, and it's exactly what we need, in that he comes back and he's successful with us next season. Fingers crossed we'll be in the championships. It'll be a nice jump up for him there.
Yeah, certainly. It's always been a little bit of a weird one, though, in terms of we know where these problems have lied in terms of the back three, and not to even see Conor McCarthy really play in the league this season, even if it were just a game where we felt confident that we'd be all right, to me, it always seemed a little bit weird that he never seemed to get a sniff, Conor McCarthy.
I couldn't believe it because I've watched him several times for under 21s, and he's really, I've seen his progression back, and he stood out. He really stood out, and I just don't understand why he couldn't get into first team or even on into squad. But good luck to him. I wish him all the best. And I think we've lost our education ambassador. I think that was his role at the club, looking after shadows and helping youngsters. So. Yeah, I hope he gets his game time at Swindon and comes back refreshed, and we then can see the best of Conor McCarthy, because I thought there's a player in there personally.
Yeah, he did look strong in them first few games before he got his injury. Anything to add to that, Andy, in terms of Conor McCarthy?
Well, unlike you, I didn't really see enough of him to think whether he'd be a good player or not a good player. I'm not sure, because then he got his injury early on. He looked like he could be a class player, but he also looked like he was prone to a mistake. But he wouldn't be on his own with that. But it's clear, isn't it? Is we've been woeful at times at the back and really struggling at the back, and he's not got close. Apart from the Papa Johns, and he didn't cover his Sen in Glory in that. But then again, at Bradford, none of them covered the Sens in Glory. So footballers want to play football, I think. If you're a footballer and just want to sit on a bench or not even be in a squad, then there's something wrong with you. He wants to play football, and so it's best for him, because he's clearly not getting a look in. So he's clearly not considered to be good enough. And I don't know if he is or not. From what you're saying, you think he is. But good luck to him, because he wants to play football, and he should play football. And Tracy said it's Swindon, decent club that he'll be able to play football. And I mean, look what happened to look what to Adam Jackson. They think Adam Jackson were good enough, and look where he went. At Lincoln, he's been outstanding. So, for him, I hope it's the same for Conor as well. So good luck to him.
Can I just say we signed him at the same time as Nicky Cadden? We signed them both together.
Shows you then, doesn't it?
I think the last Reds player I knew went to Swindon would have been Angus MacDonald, who's now at Aberdeen and scored in Europa. I don't know if it's Conference League or whatever the other week. Lovely finish, about 25 yards and all. But running top stanchion. So maybe that might reinvigorate his career, and he might end up at Aberdeen. Who knows?
We like Goose, didn't we, Al? We liked Angus.
Ah, there you
Still
go.
do.
Against Sheffield Wednesday. Get
Good
in
lad.
there.
Good lad.
Get in.
He must have got about 15 rows deep after he scored that. He was deep into Pontiac.
Last minute, wasn't it? Last minute goal.
He come through some issues when he were at Hull City, Angus, and I'm pleased for him.
Wasn't it? Pepper Big Gate Day.
Yeah. Pleased for Angus, coming through some difficulties that he had, health-wise and what have you, and he's come strong, and good luck to him.
Re-established himself as well and playing
absolutely
continental football. Can't argue with it. Right, looking forward to Saturday, where I think this must have been the quickest turnaround for a home and away game that's not been rearranged probably ever, because it's within a month. We'll have played each other almost
day before Christmas Eve.
Last season we did the same with Accrington.
It's weird how there's always one game in there that always comes around really quick each season. So yes, we are away at Stevenage on Saturday. So quick look at the stats pack. Stevenage manager Steve Evans, a stalwart of the EFL. Top scorer Jamie Reid on 15. I don't know if that's total league.
No, it's not. 18 in total.
18 total, so 15 in, I'm assuming the league then?
Yeah.
League position, 7th, form, win-loss, draw. One of them losses was to us. And key player, surprisingly, Jamie Reid, who seems to be almost carrying that Stevenage front line. Sat formation as a 3-4-1-2, but they are very flexible within that, so they can flick to a 5-3-2 and also a 4-3-3 in recent weeks, which they have done. And key stat, only Bolton have conceded less goals than Stevenage this season, with Bolton conceding 24 and Stevenage on 25. But I think they are joint with Portsmouth maybe on 25. I can't remember off the top of my head. So they have got a very watertight defence. So, Andy, you might give us a little bit of extra insight into this one, not teasing a potential away end that could be coming out.
I'm not going to say too much. I've just
correct.
Literally just before we started this, I did a 35-minute away end with Matt Farley, who's the Stevenage podcast, and he was excellent, Matt, absolutely excellent. I've told him, a bit too enthusiastic for me. He enjoys it. He gave me a headache with his positivity. He made even Alan look miserable, and that takes some doing to make Alan look. No, it don't take any doing actually to make Alan look miserable. I'm only kidding, Al. Only kidding. No, we're very, very positive, and it's one of those. One of the types of shows that were an absolute pleasure to talk to him because he. Because just mention something and he's up and running, set the hair running, and open the traps, and he's off and running. He were absolutely superb. He gave us a few things. He said,
so make sure you watch it. Make sure you watch it.
You got to watch it. You got to watch it. It's
don't get too much away.
I mean, there's not much for me apart from me. Well, you'll see me pulling him down a bit.
Never. I don't believe that, Andy. I don't believe it.
I love him to bits. Bless him. I've talked to him a few times. Did my best to rattle his cage and upset him, but he's not having it. He weren't having it. Oh, he's an absolute. He's loving life, as with all Stevenage fans, loving life. After struggling towards at the bottom of League Two, unless he's getting promotion and what have you, and he feels that I think he's similar to virtually all Stevenage fans, that they're living their life at the minute in the playoffs. It's beyond their wildest dreams. And getting the playoffs would be an absolutely wonderful thing for him. I've told him that I hope we play him at Wembley and that we absolutely wax him. That'll bring him down to earth and upset him. He talked about obviously Jamie Reid, and yes, he can score goals. That the press like mad. We saw just before Christmas the press, and it's a little bit of a worry for me that the press saw because. Carlisle press doesn't look at the mistakes that it engenders. I told him, truthfully, not to bother to tell the players not to bother pressing us because they'll not rattle us. We'll not make mistakes by being pressed hard. But sadly, he watched the match on iFollow last night, so he knows.
Well, that way it's up, didn't it?
So that's not very good. He praised Jordan Roberts as well, who scored 7 goals in all competitions. Said he was good. Only lost the 1 match at home in the league, lost a couple in cups, but not Wickham and the non-league, but nothing in the league. So they're a strong side at home. Strong, you've said it, Josh. Strong defence, but can get among us and push, and that's what you'd expect from a Steve Evans side. Mr. Marmite, but. He gets a good tune out of a fiddle. He really does get players playing. He says, I don't want to give too much away, but he says, as we know from ourselves, that they've got players that he's got playing beyond the skins, but there's also got some quality. They get a lot of late goals because you think when a team presses, they don't press for 45 minutes, they press for 90 odd minutes. They'll press. They're super fit. And it won't drop off. So if we think they're going to press us and they press it first half and then it'll drop off its second half, it won't because they'll continue to press us to get late goals, a lot of late goals. He believes it'll be an open game as it goes on. As the game goes on, he thinks it'll open up. But apart from recently losing to us and to Pompey since then. They've not lost since mid-October. So, they've been on a great run until we done them. So he's hoping to return the favour. We're on a 10-match unbeaten run and he's hoping that he's going to get his own back and stop us like we stopped them. I've told him he's talking rubbish because they won't. But, I can lie. I lie with impunity. Don't bother me.
I'll obviously...
Watch the show when it comes out. It's a blinder. not because of me. It's a blinder because of Matt.
I'm going to say, it seems like you've done next to nothing there and just sat and listened to Matt.
I've rubbished everything he's said. I played my part. I played my part.
You know, that's the key quality in a good interview, I suppose. Al, obviously, the first side we did beat that was in, I think at the time, the top half of the league, and obviously certainly the only side we beat in the playoffs so far. So, and as Andy's mentioned, only lost one in the league at home this season. We know what Steve Evans is like. It's going to be a tough one, isn't it, on Saturday?
It is. It's going to be the first time that Kate and I we've played them, isn't it? In his history, going to Lamech Stadium on Saturday. They won 1-0 on Saturday. As Andy just mentioned, they get a lot of late goals, and just with 6 minutes remaining, they found the opener with Jake Foster, plate ball, fabulous ball through for Reed to get his 19th of the season. So it's not going to be an easy place to go to. I'm hoping that after last night's performance, they get together the squad and they put that performance to bed and come out and show us what we'd really like. Sorry. And his away performances have been outstanding all season. So hopefully we can go there, put a show on. But we know that Steve Evans' sides are going to be in his face, aren't they? You know, the Brusson, they're at you. They don't give you a spare minute to pass a ball. And, you know, there's some dark arts in Steve Evans' side. So really, we've got to be up and at them. And we've got to come out better than what we did last night and take the game to them in the first 10, 15 minutes. And we've done that a few times this season, come out and with a good side win 10, 15 minutes and try and press and get the goal and push on. So it's going to be an interesting day at Lamech's.
Certainly. As Al's mentioned there, Tracy, it's almost obviously we've got a much better away form this season than we have at home, and it's Stevenage somewhat vice versa, only losing one at home this season. It's almost the battle of the two home and away forms. I'm going to say something else, but it slipped my mind. It's almost the weighing up of them two forms.
It's gonna be tough. I think if apparently Steve Evans were there last night watching, he didn't need to watch it, and I follow him, made the trip himself. I don't know where he lives, but you know, and if he's going to be, he can't not have watched that and been doing that. I can't imagine he would have done anything but that. As Al said, we've got to be better because if we're not, then they won't squander the chances that, well, Jamie Reid certainly won't. I thought it was very good when we played him at home. He caused us problems. Their goal came from him, I believe, tearing us to pieces, cutting inside, and then was it Killip or Roberts then? Roberts? Was it Roberts first came back? Anyway, whichever the keeper was, I think it was Roberts. He bounced back and then they scored.
Wilding slipped it in at the far post.
Yeah, but he made it. He gave us a tough time, particularly the first half. And, you know, Kane Hemmings, I thought he played reasonably well against us as well. I mean, he never really did much for us, but I thought he was reasonable. So going forwards, we could be under threat, depending, of course, which defence turn out and which mentality and whatever. We've just got to be more consistent, haven't we? But having said that, going forwards, we can trouble anybody. You know, and I recall back to the game where McCarthy scored the wonder goal where he chipped it over the keeper's head. But then we drove forward a lot in the second half, had a lot of joy by pushing at him, and then Herbie Kane scored that sort of deflection goal. But it would come in and we were really pushing. So, and then we had that one disallowed where Jallo were just offside. So they are beatable, definitely beatable if we do the right thing. But we've got to be better at the back because if not, we could find ourselves 2 or 3 down at half time, and then, as we said before, that takes some coming back then.
Yeah, it's that step up in quality.
We were formed in 1887. They're a newly formed club, weren't they? They were only formed in 1976.
Crikey, we're older than them, Manal. Crikey.
Didn't know that. That's really new, isn't it, for a football team? Wow.
No. Good luck to them.
I wonder how many more clubs you two are older than.
Oh, don't.
I think everybody except Notts County and everybody else.
Get down in the comments of which clubs are younger, than Andy and Al.
Josh, I want you
Is there
all
enough
to.
paper? Is there enough room in the comments, Josh? So when we run out.
It's my
Sorry, guys.
birthday next week, 26. So next week's show, it's a Al's weekend.
I know. First we can add is Sheffield FC. They're younger than you two, aren't they?
They're
Only
oldest.
just.
No, they're the oldest out there.
Yeah,
They're
they're still younger than these two.
Pretty close.
the
Combined.
oldest football club in the English league.
You know that between now and his 70th birthday next week, Alan's going to be going down every league club to see when they were formed. It's going to he's going to return. Stato Smith is going to return.
That's my task, isn't it? I'm on
Alan,
it.
Yeah.
Alan, you know when you do stats, lie. Make out that they're all older than us, Al. Don't tell the truth.
You'll come with me next Thursday.
MK
No,
Dons. MK Dons will be another.
Luncheon Club, 25th of January.
The Wimbledon.
Fish
Yeah.
and chips.
We're going to his Olden's Luncheon Club at Oakwell again, Al, aren't we? Fish and chips and a pudding for £5. We'll be there, Al, won't we?
You're promoting everything.
Harrogate Town. I reckon Harrogate Town are pretty new.
Yeah. MK. I think I'm older than MK Dons though. So they are very.
My God, they are young, aren't they? They are young. Flipping heck.
Right, you finished promoting everything other than this show. You promoted the away end and the £5 fish and chips, Andy. So we'll come to you now for your prediction for Saturday's game. What are you reckoning?
Yeah, predictions on the away end. I don't know if I've mentioned it. I predicted 1-1. He predicted a 2-1 win for them, did Matt? I predicted 1-1. So as always, I were honest this time. I said it's a 1-1. I'm absolutely honest. But I also told him that I were lying, and that I predicted a 2-1 win for Barnsley on our show. So 2-1 win to Barnsley. I'm a liar, Matt.
Gone for the same result as what happened a few weeks ago.
I'm top of the table with 2-1 wins.
Oh, stop bragging.
Surely. Me, Reese and Wayne. Come on. 2-1. It's a winner, Al.
Wind your neck in.
Oh, do you know? Stick to your drink, Al.
2-1 again. Al, what are you reckoning then?
Well, before I predict, I will say that Joe come to see me at half-time yesterday, and to read all over fans, he's doing well, he's looking well and feeling well. So that's a good sign to see. But
I saw photos, Al. He's not any bonnier, though, is he?
Pardon?
He's not any bonnier.
Just like you, Andy.
Oh, absolutely like me.
An Andy special, 2-1.
Good lad, Al.
No, we're all jumping.
Bring the points back, Al.
We're all jumping on 2-1s. Tracy, what are you reckoning?
Come on,
2-1
Tracy.
by any chance?
Pull it, Tracy.
Well,
come on.
No, I dearly do love you too, but I ain't following that. No chance. No.
Naysayer, Al. A naysayer.
Yeah. I'm actually Andy, in my head. I'm going for 1-1, so I'm going with what you said on the away end. That if not mentioned, have you done an away end?
Yeah, but I lied on it, Tracy.
I'm sorry.
Just to make him feel better.
To Italy and into skiing zone. That cold's got to you, hasn't it?
Altitude.
That mulled wine, Al. That mulled wine.
No, 1-1. 1-1. And do you know what? I'd take that. What good result. Let's get away from there with a point.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go 1-0 to Stevenage.
Oh, he's back.
1-0 to Stevenage.
What?
We're going to lose 1-0, I think. It's just one of the sides.
We are best away from. How can you do that?
I just think they're one of them sides that will struggle. They didn't play midweek. Andy said they're super fit. We've actually played 90. They've not.
Well, we only played 45, though.
That's true. That is true.
So we're all right for 45.
I think what 1-0 Stevenage. I think that's what we'll go for.
No points for Josh then.
No.
You'll see. It's that on my comeback in this mini league, this one.
Before we finish, Josh, can I just say that we discussed on the away end that I might have mentioned, I'm not sure. In talking to Matt Farley, just to say that the match for Stevenage away to Shrewsbury, where they won 1-0 last Saturday, 19-year-old Ollie Gatfield was travelling back home from the game and sadly died in a car accident. So I'd just like to say, all our best wishes and condolences to his family. It's such a sad thing that a young man goes to a football match and doesn't make it back home. It's a tragedy beyond all thoughts. But also for Liam Sharp as well, who was in the car with him, who's currently in a coma. So, fingers crossed that's at least a positive outcome for Liam. I know that that Stevenage would like us all to clap on the 19th minute in honour of Ollie. So, please let's do that.
Yeah, any Reds who are going down just evening on Saturday, make sure you get behind that. I know we do as a club anyway, so it'd be nice to get behind that. Yeah, it's just a sad state of affairs. Right, we will be back on Sunday with a reaction to the Stevenage game, and yes, we'll see you later, you Reds.